Me and Pac went in the studio and did a song together. And then them little dudes.
Outlaws.
Yeah.
Outlaws.
They came, like, as soon as we got there, they came up to Pac talking about, yo, Lauryn Hill dissed you, Mobb Deep dissed you.
Tupac, he really had an issue with Jay-Z. He really didn't like him then.
Not at all.
Big Daddy Kane just dropped a bomb about Jay-Z and Tupac, and no one saw this twist coming. Turns out the version of hip-hop history we've been fed, it's missing some major pieces. Let's start with the facts. Kane was the one who opened the door for Jay-Z, period. That's not up for debate. Back in the day, Jay was rolling with Kane, hitting the stage during Kane's sets and freestyling while the crowd went wild.
I think that if Pac was alive, it would have been a whole different story. And as much money as Jay-Z has, he still hasn't accomplished what Tupac accomplished before he was at 25 years old.
He was doing his thing in the cypher while Kane changed outfits backstage. It was raw, it was gritty, and it was real. But as Jay-Z's fame skyrocketed, Kane's name, it started to fade from the story like it never even existed. But here's where it gets wild. Kane's recent comments don't just shine light on Jay. They also reach back to Tupac.
Hold up. Tupac is a lyricist. See what I'm saying? It's just that he's not one of those lyrical MCs that spit stuff, but his stuff is, he spit deep lyrics that touch your soul.
While Kane was putting Jay-Z on in the East Coast circuit, Pac was out west shaking the industry to its core, calling out fakes, exposing phonies, and yes, throwing serious shade at Jay-Z early on. The tension was real even back then. So now people are asking, what's Kane really trying to say? Did Jay-Z just get inspired by Kane and Pac, or did he step on their backs to build his empire? Did he take their blueprint and run off with the prize without ever giving proper credit? These are the questions that got the internet buzzing. Way back in the early 90s, when Jay-Z was still a hungry unknown, Big Daddy Kane took him on tour during the legendary Chocolate City run. He didn't just let Jay rock the mic, he believed in him. He even helped shop Jay's demo, recording tracks and sending them to the big labels.
Easy. I heard that no one really wanted to sign him when you was shopping him around the record labels. Is that true?
Yeah. This was, I want to say, I don't know, 90, 91 maybe. We was, Jay, we recorded some songs, probably about 4 or 5 songs on Jay-Z, and shopped them to several different record labels, and they all passed.
But here's the kicker. Labels weren't feeling Jay-Z at all. They said his style wasn't it. Still, Kane stood by him. He knew Jay had something special, even if no one else could see it yet. And looking at how Jay's flow developed, fast, slick, aggressive, but smooth, that's Kane's DNA all over it. Jay-Z's interviews, documentaries, and public shout-outs, they barely touch on his early bond with Big Daddy Kane. In his memoir, Decoded, Jay gives Kane a quick mention, talks about learning pacing and how to work a stage. But that's it. No heartfelt tribute, no deep appreciation. Just a tiny nod, like Kane was just a footnote. And trust. Kane noticed that silence. Then there's the line that sparked a whole wave of whispers. In Jay's track, Do It Again, he spits, "I've seen the same ish happen to Kane. 3 cuts in your eyebrows trying to wild out."
I remember actually having a record deal through a production deal with someone else and recording, and then the next thing you know, someone else on the label blew up.
Now, if you know anything about Kane, you know he rocked those 3 eyebrow slits. It was his signature style. So when Jay dropped that line, a lot of people thought it was a slick jab at Kane. Big Daddy Kane was the icon of cool in the late 80s and early 90s. Those 3 eyebrow cuts were part of his brand. But by the late 90s, the spotlight was shifting. Kane's name wasn't topping charts anymore, and new blood was taking over. So when Jay-Z, who Kane once mentored, came through with that icy bar, fans couldn't help but feel it was a little shady, cold even. Even radio legend Angie Martinez reportedly commented on air that it was a diss that only added gas to the fire. Kane later tried to brush it off like it was nothing, but let's be real. When your protege throws a line like that, it stings, especially when you were the one holding the door open for him at the start. Jay even admitted he studied Kane hard behind the scenes, watching his every move.
Gotta go back to Brooklyn's finest. I was dead set against it. I was telling Jay, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And he was like, why? And I was just like, he's too strong. I said, but before we take over the world, we got to take over the West Coast. Before we take over the West Coast, we got to take over the East Coast. Before we take over the East Coast, we got to take over New York. Before we take over New York, you got to take over Brooklyn. And he owns all that. And I was like, this is not a whack. So I was just like, I was in fear that I was like, yo, you may come off like this little man.
But when Jay switched up into his gangster hustler persona, Kane started to fall back, giving Jay room to shine. Respect, right? But now, all these years later, Kane's asking the real question. Did Jay quietly push him out of the frame on purpose? And guess what? Kane wasn't the only one starting to feel that way. While Big Daddy Kane was quietly stepping back, Tupac was stepping up, loud and fearless, calling out the exact kind of shady industry moves that Kane's now starting to hint at. Pac saw it all happening in real time. How the rap game was shifting from real substance and lyrical skill to flashy images, fast cash, and raw power plays. And right in the middle of that transformation, Jay-Z's name started buzzing.
I think Pac was more upset that that word was getting back to him, that the people that did do this to him was affiliated one way or another with Biggie, and whether they was extorting him or word got back that they was going to do this to Pac. So this is one of the reasons that Pac was upset.
Back then, rumors were swirling like crazy. People were saying Jay-Z felt low-key threatened by Pac. Not because Jay wasn't talented, he had bars for days, but because Tupac had that raw energy, that unstoppable presence, that it factor you just can't fake or learn. Pac owned every room he walked into, and that made some folks uneasy, especially rising stars like Jay. Eventually, things between Jay and Pac hit a boiling point. They had real tension before Pac's death, and it wasn't just street talk, it was industry battle. The spark? Jay linked up with Biggie to drop shots at the West Coast, and it all came to a head in 1996 with Brooklyn's Finest, a banger on Jay's Reasonable Doubt album. Jay and Biggie, both repping Bed-Stuy, were getting tight, but that collab, it lit the fuse. Irv Gotti, who was working closely with Jay back then, later revealed he actually warned Jay, don't put Big on that track.
Big did, which I was like, that's why Pac was on Jay, because of Brooklyn's Finest. If they have twins, you probably have two Pops. Get it? Two Pops. And Jay's on the record with him. So now he's like, you, ain't no like me, Jay-Z. Then he start.
The East Coast versus West Coast beef was already spiraling out of control, and Irv knew that dropping that song could set something off. And he wasn't wrong. Now let's not forget, Pac and Biggie used to be tight, but everything changed in 1994 when Pac got shot 5 times during a robbery at Quad Studios. After that, Pac believed Biggie and Diddy knew something was going down and didn't warn him. To Pac, that felt like betrayal, and he never let it go. But Biggie, he always denied knowing anything about the setup, said he had nothing to do with it. Still, the trust was shattered, and that crack never healed. After the Quad Studios shooting, everything between Pac and Biggie fell apart, and it went public fast. They were trading shots in interviews, tracks, and videos. Then Biggie dropped Who Shot Ya, and the streets lit up. Even though Big denied it was about Pac, the timing had everyone thinking otherwise. Tensions between the East and West Coast were already reaching a boiling point.
Because before he performed the record, he was like, yo, no disrespect to the dead, but you just can't say whatever.
Oh, so he actually performed it after Pac passed?
Yeah, we was at the Apollo. It was, I will say this, if you can find anybody who was at that show and the Apollo was packed, they will tell you that it was absolutely crazy, the things he was saying. I was like, Lord Jesus. Like when you know when you hear something, it's one thing, but then when you hear it performed, it's like, jeez. It was super tough.
And that's exactly why Irv Gotti warned Jay-Z not to move forward with Brooklyn's Finest, but Jay didn't listen. He dropped the track anyway, and things got even messier. On the record, Biggie threw slick shade at Pac, even calling him his son, and throwing fuel on the rumors involving Pac and Faith Evans. Fans caught the subs instantly, and Pac, he wasn't having it. Pac clapped back with full force, sending direct shots at Jay-Z on songs like Bomb First, My Second Reply, and Fame Friends. By that point, people were waiting for Jay to respond with a diss track of his own. But before he could drop anything, everything changed. Pac was fatally shot in a drive-by in Las Vegas, just weeks after the heat reached its peak. But here's the plot twist most people don't know. Jay did record a diss track aimed straight at Pac. It was called Scathing, and word is it was vicious, ruthless. But Jay decided to keep it in the vault, allegedly because he didn't want to throw gasoline on an already blazing fire while Pac was still alive. Still, after Pac passed, Jay hit the stage at the Apollo and performed that unreleased diss live. According to DJ Clark Kent, the song was harsh, like Jay was finally letting years of tension explode. It wasn't about tribute, it was about proving something, like he had been carrying that weight and needed to unload it now that Pac was gone.
The story is that Jay was gonna try to perform in Vegas, but Pac was in Vegas, and him and his dudes now. And they wasn't gonna let Jay-Z come out the hotel. They found out where Jay was at. And Jay wasn't gonna come out the hotel. He was gonna miss that performance or whatever like that. Do that concert, and Jay was scared of the motherfucker. Jay wasn't coming out that hotel until he got.
But here's the real kicker. Why wait until after Pac's death to drop the gloves? There's been talk for years that Jay actually felt relieved when Pac died. That deep down, he knew Pac was a different kind of beast, one he could never outshine. Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, even claimed Jay was so shaken by Pac's energy that during one Vegas trip, he straight up refused to leave his hotel room. Jay-Z once skipped out on a whole show just because Pac and his crew were in town. That's how deep the tension really was behind the scenes. A lot of fans have straight up called Jay-Z sneaky for never going at Pac directly while he was alive. But here's the catch. Jay and his East Coast circle were definitely throwing slick subliminal shots, hoping Pac would bite back, and he always did. They knew how emotional and reactive Pac was, and they used it against him from the shadows. People who were in the rap game back then say Jay-Z was deeply jealous of Pac's energy. Jay had the lyrical skills, no doubt, but he knew he couldn't match that raw, magnetic presence Pac had. Pac didn't just rap, he moved people. That kind of star power is rare, and Jay knew it. Even Nas later dropped a major gem in an interview. He said Jay once told him straight up, "I'm better than Biggie." Nas looked at him like he lost his mind. But then Jay doubled down and said Tupac and DMX weren't even real lyricists. Nas told Vibe, "I disagreed. I told him Tupac was the greatest ever, period." That moment right there, it showed how much Jay really wanted to outshine the legends, even if he had to rewrite history in his own head. But that's not the only reason fans started calling Jay-Z a snake. There's also the Diddy connection.
Filled them shoes though. You feel you came in and you know what I'm saying? So we definitely give thanks for you. You know what I'm saying? Because you definitely, came in and I just know how much Big like really looked up to Jay. You know what I'm saying? They looked up to each other. And yeah, that is crazy to have to step into the shoes of like two people. Because that's all it was those two people. And they had like the game, they had things on lock. Hov was coming, you know what I'm saying? But like, it was like these two cats was just so big, you know what I'm saying? And then so it's like to have all of that, like, come on you and have that responsibility to keep this shit fly and keep the art of it going. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because I think Hov really kept Hov kept the art of it going and was able to take where they was at and take it, take it even higher.
Even after rumors started swirling that linked Diddy to Pac's homicide, Jay stayed tight with him. Real tight. And then after both Pac and Biggie were gone, Diddy started hyping up Jay-Z as the one who stepped up and filled their shoes. To some fans, it looked like a passing of the torch. But to others, it looked like Jay played the long game, stayed quiet, made the right moves, and slid right into the spotlight while the Giants fell. Even with all the wild rumors that have followed Diddy for years, Jay-Z stayed locked in with him, tight as ever. That is, until the 2023 Cassie lawsuit exploded and flipped the whole script. Suddenly, Jay caught a case of selective memory, out here acting like he and Diddy were never even friends. Like, really? So what's the real story here? We've got Big Daddy Kane quietly hinting at betrayal and disappointment, Pac warning us about industry snakes, and Jay-Z moving in silence, making major chess moves behind the scenes. Put it all together, and a picture starts to form. One where Jay didn't just borrow flows and inspiration, but climbed to the top by sidestepping and stepping over the very people who helped him rise. He's talented, no question, but more and more industry vets are speaking out. They're saying Jay's legacy isn't just built on bars, it's built on strategy, backdoor moves, and cold decisions. Loyalty? That part of the game might have gotten cut out of the blueprint. So now we want to hear from you. Was Jay-Z just playing the long game? Or did he really cross a line? Did he betray Kane once he blew up? Did he turn his back on those who had his back first? And do you believe Jay was truly jealous of Pac? Let us know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives like this. And hey, if you're feeling the content, hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Catch you in the next one.